Okay. Good evening. I have 5:30, so we're going to call the regular meeting to order. I'd remind you to turn your cell phones to silent or vibrate, and let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Councilmember Stevens? Councilmember Myers?
Here.
Councilmember Berg?
Here.
Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Mayor Lazio?
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 20 on June 16th, 2020, and the comprehensive plan open house held on June 25th, 2020 as presented. Civil Service Commission eligibility list of June 24th, 2020. Datacom supervisor promotional. Authorize mayor to sign water main warranty for the East Main Street reconstruction project. Assignment of HR responsibilities to internal staff members with appropriate compensation adjustments based on duties assigned. And I did not have any beer or liquor applications for this meeting.
Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Item C in our agenda, we need approval for tonight's agenda. Is there such a motion?
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda with the tabling of item H3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you. Phil, we want to give you an opportunity. Is there anything you want to bring to the attention of the council?
I did not have anything for tonight's agenda.
Okay. All right. Item E, we always give citizens a chance to make comments on items on the agenda at this point. If there's anyone in the audience who wants to do that, now's the time to step to the podium. Seeing none, we'll move on to item F.
Approving agreement and consent to lien for water service costs for part of the 100 block of East Main Street in connection with the Ottumwa Main Street project, also known as Downtown Streetscape. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and consent to lien for water costs for one property at 105 East Main and the 100 block of East Main Street.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
This is just one additional agreement on a continuation. We've had multiple agreements before you. This allows a method for us to collect from a property owner what would be their responsibility, which is their water service from the stop box into the building.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Award the contract for the 2020 RFP Elm Street Pad Extension and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Recommendation, award the contract to Christie Construction in the amount of $20,941.48 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
The Elm Street pump station includes a 25-foot diameter tank designed to separate the heavier particles from the sewage stream. When this chamber is cleaned, the sand and other grit is stored on a concrete pad adjacent to the tank. This allows dewatering over time. The liquid then flows back into the system. The sewer department's back truck also empties its contents on the pad when it is full. The project will expand the pad to allow for more storage and includes a retaining wall to prevent sewage from running onto the ground. The bids were received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on June 30th, 2020 at 2 p.m. 5 sets of plans were distributed and 3 bids were received. The low bidder is Christie Construction of Ottumwa, Iowa, in the amount of $20,941.48. And it was budgeted. The balance difference between the budget and the bid will come from the sewer fund balance.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Bid report and contract award for asbestos removal at 315 North Jefferson Street. Recommendation, accept bid and award contract for asbestos removal at 315 North Jefferson Street to Dustin Smith of Environmental Edge of Ottumwa, Iowa for the best bid sum of $990.
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you.
We have 4 of these tonight. What happens when the city needs to demolish derelict property is that we receive bids for the demolition in general, and we also receive bids for asbestos removal if an asbestos inspection reveals that there's asbestos that needs to be removed. In this case, this is the bid award and contract, or sorry, the bid report and contract award for the demolition or the asbestos removal at 315 North Jefferson Street. We had bids received until 2 p.m. on June 30th and received 3 bids for asbestos removal. Dustin Smith submitted the best bid in the amount of $990, and the staff recommends awarding him the contract.
Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Bid report and contract award for demolition of 315 North Jefferson Street. Recommendation, accept bid and award contract for demolition of 315 North Jefferson Street, Tim Skinner Trucking and Excavation for the best bid sum of $16,985.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This is the bid report and contract award, in this case, for the demolition of the same property at 315 North Jefferson. Again, the bids are accepted until 2 p.m. on June 30th, and Tim Skinner Trucking and Excavation submitted the best bid in the amount of $16,985, and the staff recommends awarding the contract.
Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Bid report and contract award for asbestos removal at 226 South Ward Street. Recommendation, accept bid and award contract for asbestos removal at 226 South Ward Street to Dustin Smith of Environmental Edge of Ottumwa, Iowa for the best bid sum of $1,350.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This is another one. This is the contract award for 226 South Ward for asbestos removal. Again, bids were accepted until 2 p.m. on June 30th, and we received 2 asbestos bids. Dustin Smith submitted the best bid in the amount of $1,350, and the staff recommends awarding him the contract.
Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Bid report and contract award for demolition of 226 South Ward Street. Recommendation, accept bid and award contract for demolition of 226 South Ward Street to Tim Skinner Trucking and Excavating for the best bid sum of $6,950.
Is there a motion?
So
Move the
moved.
recommendation as presented.
Second?
Second.
Again, this is the contract award and bid for demolition, in this case at 226 South Ward. We received bids again until 2 p.m. on June 30th. 3 bids for demolition were received, and Tim Skinner Trucking and Excavating submitted the best bid, in this case in the amount of $6,950, and the staff recommends awarding him the contract.
Any questions?
I just have one, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
The difference between this particular property and the North Jefferson property, is it just square footage is the difference in price, but with the Jefferson Street being exponentially higher?
Yeah, it is a much bigger building. Also, I think the Jefferson Street building is, I don't know for sure, if I'm remembering correctly, that building is got some masonry and things like that that are a little more complicated to take down than the regular stick frame
Okay, thank you.
house here.
Any other questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the sale of city-owned property located at 529 Appanus in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
Go ahead, Zach.
Okay. This is a piece of property that the city acquired as an abandoned property under Iowa Code Section 657A. We placed that property up for sealed bids and accepted bids until 2 p.m. on June 30th, 2020. The property is placarded and has a deficiency list that will need to be addressed before a certificate of occupancy can be issued. We received 5 bids, and the best bid was received from Rick Wilson in the amount of $8,000, and the staff recommends selling him the property. I also got a note here that since January of 2011, the city has sold 88 residential and commercial buildings, as well as 63 vacant lots, which have generated a gross total of $585,806. And it's been a pretty successful program at taking these abandoned properties and directing them into development.
Can you repeat that? You
Yeah.
sold 88 homes and
We've-
what was the other?
88 residential and commercial buildings, as well as 63 vacant lots, for a gross total of $585,806.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 136, 2020, accepting the bid and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 529 Appanus to Rick Wilson for the sum of $8,000. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 136, 2020.
Move the
Sure.
recommendation is presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the apron improvements project at the Ottumwa Regional Airport.
Go ahead, Chris, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing on the proposed plan, specifications, and form of contract and estimated costs for the apron improvements project at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. Plans and specifications for this project have been drafted by our airport consultants, Kirk and Michael. The estimated cost for this project is $350,000. The airport received a grant from the Iowa DOT for $297,500 to pay for 85% of the project. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on July 28th, 2020 at 2 p.m. at City Hall at 105 East 3rd Street, Ottumwa, Iowa. The bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the City Council meeting on August 4th, 2020, or at a later date as determined by staff.
This also is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that wants to address this item. I want to be sure the public knows that we are back in open session so they can join us at any time for regular council meetings now. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 153, 2020, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the apron improvements project at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 153, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Any questions for Chris? You've got plenty of money in your reserve balance to pay for the portion that the city has to pay?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We're doing fine.
okay. Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the North Court and Fox Sock intersection project.
This is a public hearing, so Larry, you have the floor.
This project will enlarge the intersection radius, add paved shoulder, panel replacement on North Court Street at the North Court Fox Sock Road intersection. The improvements will allow the intersection to better accommodate semi-traffic turning movements. Funding will be from a USDA Rural Business Development Grant, which was awarded in the amount of $142,347 It's 100% with no local funds. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on July 29th, 2020 at 2 p.m. A bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented to the City Council on the meeting of August 4th, 2020, or at a later date as determined by staff. The engineer's estimated cost is $138,007.
This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone who wants to address this item. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Give that to Holly.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Resolution number 157, 2020, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the North Court and Fox Sock intersection project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 157, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Resolution number 156, 2020, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for Phase 4 beach renovations, slide and feature maintenance restoration project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 156, 2020.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening, Gene. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. This project involved providing the labor, material, and equipment to repair and restore the fiberglass components of the water slides at the beach. Change order number 1 increases the contract amount by $4,607 for additional work related to repairs for the wave and kiddie pools. The new contract sum is $71,107. The contractor has completed the above referenced work according to the plans and specifications. Upon approval, the council will accept the project and authorize final payment and release all retainages.
Okay. I have a motion. Any questions for Gene?
I just have one, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
How much work is left on Phase 4 before we're going to consider that complete?
As far as I know, it's finished. I'll have to double check with Dwight, but I know there isn't much left in the fund as far as funding, and I think the project is complete.
Okay, so I know we had talked way back when we first started these phases. Do we have a maintenance cycle going now to where we don't get into the bind of having to do like major reconstruction again?
Yeah, I'll be working with the finance director in the future to put money in the budget for those things, because there will be some things that we need to budget for in the future. For example, some minor concrete repairs to the wave pool.
Okay, thank you.
That also raises a question. So we came in under budget, which is really good. And I think, can we hold that money for other repairs then? How long can we hold that? That was bonded a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we can hold those funds for up to 3 years to use on beach projects. And like Gene said, we are working on a maintenance program, not only for the beach, but for the rest of the city. And we're reviewing that for even our CIP plan that we're hoping to do in the next quarter or so.
Good.
I would just comment though, I sure hope, Mark's good question, that we do make sure that we set aside maintenance for the beach, because that's exactly right. That's why we got here, is we weren't able or didn't provide the funding for maintenance right along. So I sure hope we do that.
Yeah, we're planning on having a maintenance program for a lot of our different facilities, and the beach is one of them that we're trying to come up with that number on an annual basis of what we'll need for maintenance.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, ready to vote? Motion's made and seconded to approve the change order. Take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Berg,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Resolution number 158, 2020, authorize upgrading and entering into an agreement with Kronos to include the HCM suite. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 158, 2020.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second?
Thank you, Bob. Go ahead, Kayla.
Under the discussion, I'll read that. The Kronos timekeeping system that the city of Ottumwa is utilizing needs to be upgraded. We have currently purchased the new time clocks and the SAS services for timekeeping. Kronos has agreed to give us a $17,000 credit towards this next project and reduced setup fee because the new timekeeping software actually has not been implemented yet. We will be going to a cloud-based software where Kronos will automatically upgrade the software without new cost to us as if we were going to keep housing it in-house on our own servers. As part of the human capital management, the HCM suite that we're also proposing to do with Kronos, it handles benefit administration, talent acquisition and management, onboarding, human resources, and the entire payroll suite would be included. This software and implementation would be paid for out of the 2021-2022 CIP bonds proceeds for the next 2 fiscal years, and the monthly SaaS services would be $4,305 and then a one-time setup fee of $6,250. So we are currently paying Kronos for our timekeeping, and we had purchased to update our timekeeping to a new SaaS system, which is a cloud-based system. We had started working on that. However, looking at all things that we needed for HR and for payroll, instead of spending the money to implement that, we wanted to look at the entire system as a whole. So the whole Kronos system would be a complete payroll system and HR system, and it would be all the way from recruiting employees with online applications to the hiring process of onboarding employees, explaining benefits, and to the current staff that we have to help manage them with processing annual reviews and tracking training and certificates that our staff have received throughout their time here. And it would also track longevity raises or any other increases that have been built for our contracts, and it could track our separate union employees based on what their raises would be and or contracts would say. It creates a totally paperless process for payroll that is currently mostly being done manually. We have a ton of paper pushing that happens right now with our PAs, and we spend multiple days every time we do payroll to input those PAs into the system, and it's a manual process. And this would also get all of our departments on the payroll system and on this HCM system, so that way we're not manually inputting anybody. We're not manually adjusting for accrued leave such as vacation, different types of sick leave. So it's just a totally automated system that would help on a lot of different levels. The other thing that it does offer is for a single sign-on for our staff members. So they'll be able to have a login and they can view their accrued time, they can view their pay stubs, they can view their W-2s at the end of the year, instead of us printing out all those pay stubs for each employee every time we do a payroll, or our W-2s, or reprinting that information, which is a very convoluted process right now. So.
Any questions for Kayla?
I'll be that guy. Yeah, I have a couple.
That's fine.
So having some experience in migrating to some of this in the past, first and foremost, how much time do you think it's going to take to implement this the HCM suite? And do you anticipate much of a learning curve on the training processes from the employee perspective?
Right. Well, it will take about 90 to 120 days to get the HCM and whole payroll process done. So we hope, by the last payroll in October or the first payroll in November, that we would be live from the beginning to end process for everything.
Is that including like the recruiting package as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And will that automatically feed information to like your national recruiting
Yes.
databases and everything? Okay. one of the things that, again, working off of prior experience, will this be able to streamline some of your AP and payroll processes, like, for example, pension payments and
Yes.
things like that?
Yes.
So with that being said, do you anticipate there's going to be a reduction in workflows from actual staff because of the software?
Yes. We already have in the budget that we were reducing our HR part-time position, and we've also combined a couple of our other positions with payroll and benefits, and then our risk management and purchasing position, and then also the administrative secretary position will also be helping out with some of the HR stuff with Phil and I.
Okay, so how long do you anticipate the return on this being?
I mean, I think that we'll see the return immediately. I mean, as soon as we can get our employees into the system and we can track the information where we're not having to go through paper contact cards for, longevity reasons or training purposes. And also the first payroll will notice that, we're not having the paper that we're doing. And I mean, again, the next day after payroll right now, we're doing manual processes to cut physical checks, to pay things, or going online to a system that we're logging into to pay for IPERS or our different retirement programs where the system automatically will do that for us.
So some of your employees, you're still printing physical checks for payroll.
Yes.
So will that change when you move over to this, where everybody will be direct deposit, or will there still be physical checks going out?
Well, legally, we can't, anybody that was hired for a certain date, we can't make them change over to a paperless process, to an ACH, but we have actually already started that process, and we're down to maybe between 16 and 20 employees that are receiving a physical paper check.
Okay. Last question, promise. And this is maybe more geared towards Edward than yourself. Since this is going to be a cloud-based software, is that going to free up any of the demand on the servers that we have now? It will not? Okay.
It won't, but it's more secure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And to go back to your training question earlier, this is a very similar system. In fact, the sister system to this that has merged, I'd used previously, and also our new accountant has previously done the whole payroll system with Kronos. And it's a pretty user-friendly system. I think that once staff gets in there and they're able to use it, that it'll be pretty user-friendly for them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kayla, would you outline for us, and I want to be clear, very supportive, and I'm glad you're doing this. It's been long overdue. But what's the cost to the city going to be, and to invest in the program, and then the net cost will be the savings of personnel and paper and printing and all the other stuff. But what's our cost going to be to get into the system?
Well, like I said, the first couple of years, we have a discount coming to us from prior purchases for it. But after that, it will be about $50,000 annually. So we're paying between $20,000 and $30,000 already for the system. So it'll be, an additional $20,000 or $30,000 on an annual basis.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, my question, I guess, is more to Administrator Rath. When we first implemented Kronos, there were apparently reasons, or not everybody used it or was involved in it. So I'm hearing now that all of the city will be using it. Is that correct, Mr. Rath?
Yes, so for what reason that time clocks may not have been instituted or implemented in other places in the city, those should go across the city for all departments to utilize. I've had similar experiences in the past. There, especially when you bring on the full system, there's ways to assist with, for example, one of the issues that came up in my past was a concern with response time for public safety. And if everyone had to stop and punch a clock, that's taken away from response time. Well, these systems are intuitive enough that you can have a mass punch in and say the call goes out at 5:11. Everybody punches in, after the fact at 7:11 or 17:11, and then they'd punch out as they leave. you get the mass punch in on the front side, it'll help calculate the time in and out. And there are definitely ways to address those issues. And then the efficiencies you gain with some of the things that Kayla mentioned as far as having the system put in all the adjustments, the pay adjustments for different employees and longevity and all of that. It's going to save time on, as you mentioned, pushing the paper. It should hopefully help with employees getting their pay adjustments in a timely manner rather than waiting for the paper. And if somebody gets missed or paper gets misplaced, this should happen automatically as that anniversary date accrues. Vacation schedules get automatically updated, all of that.
And we
Thank
can set different schedules for different departments and make it easier for those to automatically be traced for whatever department it is. And the other thing too that I didn't mention is with the benefits administration right now, that's all done on paper annually for our benefits enrollment. Now they'll be able to log in, they'll see what their current benefits are, and if they want to change them, then they can choose to change them or accept them. And so that's just going to be another savings annually, and when we're onboarding new employees. Or if they have a life change, then they can go onto the system and say that they've had a life change.
Thank you.
Good questions. Any other comments or questions?
Your Honor, I just got one question.
Sure.
Kayla, I can remember back in, I think it was 2015, and the mayor and I discussed this very thing, Kronos. And apparently back then it was a disaster. I don't know if that had anything to do with people not using it right, nobody understanding how to use it. So it went through a lot of cycles. Oh yeah, we love it. No, we don't. We're doing payroll through Kronos. And then it became, well, no, we're all doing it manually. And so, this is something that you're right on target for doing this and getting this upgraded. I know it's a significant cost. And I heard that you say that, we will be experiencing a pretty good return on that investment. So that's good. And it keeps, a lot of security in the system and accuracy. So that's good. The only question I have is just to make sure, since this is a significant investment, there's agreement between IT and you and the staff that this is the best package for city use. Because I've heard so many things, I've heard some employees say, yeah, you need to throw that out. Just to make sure this is a huge investment, just to make sure this is the right one for us. Is there agreement on that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is going to be buy-in with employees. It does give us the capabilities of tracking them and utilizing the system correctly, and supervisors using the system and approving the information that is sent to them from, their staff members. I think that it's a great system, and my staff and other people that have viewed it think that it's a good system. We already have parts of the system implemented, so it kind of makes sense to go forward with doing the other parts rather than going and doing an RFP for a whole new system for our payroll and HR. It is one of the better systems out there. It is used in higher ed and government, and it's also used in private industry. And again, it's one of the top-notch systems of my entire career that everybody has wanted. So
Well, I'm glad I can put that to bed then.
Yep.
Over all these years of talking about Kronos and stuff. And I know, like I said, this isn't the only investment. We've made other significant investments over the years for updates that seem to me very expensive. And so I just want to make sure that if we're going to, pull a trigger on this for the long term, that it's the one we're going
yes.
to want.
And this should help with our updates too, since it is a cloud-based system that, they will be doing the updates. We won't have to purchase the updates to put on our server every time.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, so just for real quick, having worked in a system that is not used to the public side, government or higher ed, having a system that is used to the different things, the longevity and different contracts and all the ins and outs of that will be beneficial as far as being a quicker uptime for us as well.
Good.
Okay, any other questions or comments? So the motion on the floor is to pass Resolution 158, 2020. Been made and seconded. Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Okay, let's move on. We tabled item 3, so we'll bring that up at the next meeting. Item J, if there's anyone that wants to bring up any issue related to city business, this is the time to make your comments. I don't see any, so we'll move on past that. Item K, just a couple of communications for the benefit of the council. I just put in your boxes tonight a statement that I think we should at least look at and consider adopting, or at least tweaking a little bit on where we're at with all the events that have happened nationally and around us. And Administrator Rath and I have talked about this. We can certainly add to it, change it, but I want some input from the council before we bring it back to the council as a whole. Had numerous complaints about fireworks, and I've asked if people are really concerned about it, that they bring a petition to the council. I just don't think there's much we can do about the enforcement when you have, at least on July 4th, every neighborhood in town was setting off fireworks, and we can't enforce it when our police are busy keeping the peace and doing other things. So you may get some more phone calls or possible petition coming forth. Phil and I will be meeting with Senator Grassley, and as you know, Senator Grassley is chair of the Finance Committee for the Senate, and we have a number of questions. We're going to talk about the build grant, but we're also going to be asking him what's happening with the reimbursement to cities and municipalities to deal with the shortage of revenue. Most of the COVID stuff that we're dealing with is for expenses related to COVID, but it doesn't really deal with our lost revenue. So we'll be doing that this week. And lastly, I want to call attention to the National Census, which Chris has done a great job working with and being our contact person, but there are some census tracts here in town that are very low reporting, and we want to remember this is for 10 years in the future. It affects the finances that we get, and we really need to get everybody signed up and reported. And even if you're not a U.S. citizen, you can sign up, and the information is protected by Constitution and national law. So we need to get everybody signed up as best we can. If you have any questions, or if anybody asks you about it, please refer them to Chris. She knows more about it than anybody here in city, I think. So with that, are there any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Holly and Matt.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
6:07 p.m. Thank you and good night.